Welcome back.
Welcome back. We're
Welcome
back.
to
Episode
11.
1 1 1 1 11 1 1.
Woo! Sorry.
After 10, before 12.
That's how it works.
I hope so.
Welcome
Anyway,
back. Oh,
you
sorry.
might be you might be wondering what this chair is doing right here. It is a chair for our guest today.
Ooh.
Who is our guest? We're continuing our testimony series. Sorry.
Yay!
So we have a special guest. So who do you think it is? Drum roll. It's Hannah.
Hannah Chris.
Okay.
David, insert music.
Yeah, it's music.
Everybody. Hello.
Anyways.
Is Hannah Chris.
Hannah.
It's me.
And
Where's this? Is that good?
yeah, that's good.
Okay, cool.
I think. Anyway, so we're doing our testimony series,
Yay.
and this is our third part, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're very excited that you're here.
I'm very honored to be here. I know.
Welcome.
I've been wanting to be here for a long time.
Well, I know we get so many requests
Mhm.
True.
on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It's
All
just
the time.
they just get skipped over. I know.
Yeah, I get skipped over.
I'm sorry. Our media team
Just
is
in life. It's not just you. Oh, so it's fine.
Our media team, we're kind of going through a change of media team. So,
Mhm.
some requests
Someone's
got
being
skipped
fired.
over. Someone already got fired.
Oh.
That's all I'm saying. Well, I don't know. Anyway. Oh, yeah, do you want me?
What?
Nothing. Don't worry about it. So,
Okay.
testimony.
Yeah.
So, we're going to start
Right now.
right now.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna start by saying, how did you become a Christian? How did your journey start as a Christian?
Well, I guess it started a long time ago
Mm.
in a not so far away land. It was in Vancouver, Washington. But my
That's where we're
parents.
I'm not sorry. I was whispering. That's where we're at.
That's so true. Thanks, Mike.
What? Oh wait. Nothing.
Okay, so my parents are pastors, and they planted a church when I was around 9 years old. And what that meant, it was kind of like all hands on deck with a lot of things. And we moved around to a lot of different buildings with our church. At that point, we were in like Furstenberg Center. We've met in our house. We've met at the old church too. We met in the downstairs area. We met at a tavern for a little bit
Nice.
too, and I wasn't allowed inside. And so I think just like I grew up just knowing God, and just like being like just thrown into it, and just always serving and always just being a part of everything. Like we didn't have a children's pastor or anything because we were really small. So it was just me with like 12 kids trying to like wrangle them to do what they're supposed to do. I might have sat on a kid one time. And it
I want to hear that story.
that poor girl, they didn't know that she was like part deaf and that she couldn't like hear when people are telling her what to do. So
That's not good.
it was just seen that she was very defiant, and she had already thrown my phone at my foot and like knocked a chair over on me, and I was at my wit's end, and she was doing something crazy, so I sat her down and just kind of sat right in front of her, and the wall was breaking. But I was 12. I thought that was parenting. Might be.
That's so
She's
funny.
fine. She wasn't mad, but I just needed her to calm down. But anyways, I was the children's pastor.
Whoa.
With zero training, as you
Cool.
can see. No safety training.
No safety training. You can tell that right away.
But that was just like my life. I just knew what it meant to serve and what it meant to like have like God in your family. But even though like being Christianity being like a big part of my upbringing, I never knew anything else. It wasn't a very personal relationship. And I feel like that's a lot of people's perspective. If you grow up in the
Yeah.
church, it
Yep.
doesn't feel very
That's
personal.
literally all of ours.
So it's really funny how that works out, but that's exactly how it was. It was always my parents' relationship with God, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm here along for the ride, and I do what I need to do because I know how to serve."
Hmm.
But it wasn't personal. It wasn't that God was for me. It was for, oh, he's for everyone else. And it was like that for a pretty long time throughout. I don't know how long we had that church. It was for a while. But then we ended up in in a low income area called Rose Village. That's just in Vancouver. It's kind of near Clark College. And that was probably the hardest season for our church as a whole because one, it was probably the most fruitful in a way because we were reaching people who have never been to church, who don't know how to have a relationship with God. It was very much start from scratch. And
Yeah.
we met in the apartment complex over there in their clubhouse. And so we had all the people from the apartment that would come to our church on Sunday mornings. And it was really, really great to like kind of see that like growth. Um, but it was really, really hard. And those kids were really hard too that I had to watch because
Oh,
they were
I
like
bet.
flipping me off, cussing me out, but like
Yeah.
still having a good time. I don't know what was going on.
You're like, ah.
And so I was just like, oh, this is what it is to be a Christian. You just kind of you do what you need to do and you don't cry about it. Um but then things kind of started going downhill because that apartment complex was caught on fire. And so everyone was kind of out of their home for a little bit, and that was really difficult. And then once that settled down, a different management company came and bought the whole complex and evicted every single person
Oh,
in that apartment complex. Not whether they could pay it or
sheesh.
not, they were all evicted. No, I don't even know how that is legal, but that was like that was probably the most affordable housing you could get
Yeah.
in this area, and so everyone had
Sorry.
to
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
everyone had to move away, like,
Yeah.
and so all of our church just kind of
Mm. Yeah.
and it was really, really sad and heartbreaking. Um, but that's kind of when our church ended, and it was like a new season for something else. And I think
Mm.
everyone in our family just was like, "Oh my gosh, what's next?" Because it was kind of unexpected. You know, like you can never everything is for a season, and you know that logically. Um, but it also like feels this like, "Oh, why weren't we able to grow our church enough? Like,
Yeah.
why did it end? Like, what did we do wrong?"
Yep.
So then we kind of entered that season. It was really weird, but that's like just my life of being a Christian and how I grew up. I just you're serving and you're working and
Mm.
you aid other people's relationship with God. And so it was always very we were talking about earlier about like all the works,
Works and
like
faith.
putting in
Yeah.
the works versus your faith. And I was always more on the work side just because when you're in a church plant, there's a lot of work to be
A lot
done.
of work.
A lot of work. Um and so it was always like I was a Christian, I believed in God, I did all the things, but it wasn't a very personal relationship
Mm-hmm.
at that time. It was more of like, "Oh, this is what."
I see.
That's like
Was
my beginning.
was there a moment? Um, was there like a specific moment that you remember where you were like, okay, like this is I'm taking a step to actually grow my relationship with God. Like this
Yeah.
is, what's that defining moment?
Yeah, that definitely came more in high school, and it comes with a lot of hard stuff.
Mm.
And so my relationship was pretty shallow probably up until, um, 8th grade, and when I was in 5th grade, the doctor I went to the doctor and they told me I had scoliosis. And and that's just if you don't know, like the curvature of your spine is
Yeah.
pretty off. And so usually you get diagnosed at a younger age and that's pretty normal and they just watch you. And so every like 4 to 6 months I would go back in and typically like it's a slow progression and most people can have scoliosis and be fine. Um, but mine was like very rapidly increasing. And
Mm.
so come 6th grade, he was like, you need to be put in a back brace. And that sounded like the
Oof.
worst thing possible because I didn't want people to know. I didn't want to be looked at a certain way. I really just wanted to kind of blend in to the background because someone that doesn't really like a lot of attention, especially at that time because I was, in upper elementary and middle school. Like that's like one of the most insecure
Yeah,
times.
exactly.
And so it was just like that added like social pressure of people like seeing me a certain way. And also baggy clothes were not in style. During that time it was like flaring your Hollister top. That's what you were doing.
I forgot about
Uh-huh.
Hollister.
And they
El
were like and I was
Pasto.
like, you can literally see like the outline because it's like this big plastic thing that
I
goes around you
see.
and you like take Velcro and you're like
Oh my
and it's like
god,
and you can't like breathe very well. It's really fun. Um
that doesn't sound fun.
and I had to wear it. What's 24 minus 6?
24 minus 6 is 18.
I had to wear it 18 hours a day. And so I was like, oh my gosh, my life is shattering. But looking at it now, I'm like being dramatic. But
I mean, you were in 6th
I know,
grade,
but in
so, like,
6th grade, it felt
obviously,
like the
yeah.
biggest deal ever.
Yeah.
And so I remember getting it, and I totally did not wear it ever. I would hide it in my closet at home. And I don't know how mom didn't realize that. Sorry, mom. Or if she did see that I ditched it and make me wear it, I would right when I got to school, I would go to the nurse's office and be like, "Here you go," and she'd be like, "Okay."
Oh,
I don't know.
really?
She didn't question anything. She just let me drop it off in the office, and I wouldn't wear it.
Oof.
And so that's probably why I messed up, but it's fine. And so I had to wear the brace 6th grade, 7th grade, and a bit into 8th grade. And so that was like a long time of wearing this, but every time I go back to the doctor, it's like not getting better, not getting better. It's not slowing down. Partly probably because I didn't wear it enough, but that's fine. And so in 8th grade, that's when the doctor was like, it's getting to a very not good place. And you are going to have surgery. And I always downplay surgery, I think, because I just think since I've been through it multiple times and I'm just used to it. Like it doesn't seem like that big a deal now, but I think surgery actually is a big deal, especially when it's your
Yeah.
whole entire
Mhm.
back. And basically what they needed to do was put metal bars and screw them into my spine to like keep and like I've watched a video of the surgery because I was curious. They are not delicate with you at all. This body was rocking back and forth.
Oh my god!
Because they have to take your spine and straighten it and then put the bars in to keep it in that position. And so there was a lot of complications.
Mhm.
And throughout this whole thing, like I'm pretty easygoing. I think especially in 8th grade, you don't really know what to expect. So I'm like, oh, cool. That's
I'm
fine.
having surgery.
I'm
Kinda
like,
cool.
I'm gonna be
Yeah.
out of school for a while. Dope.
That's true.
And so I was like fine with it. It was okay. I wasn't like that freaked out, and I just hit the mic. I'm sorry. And so had the surgery, and I recovered really fast, and I felt really cool. The doctor told me, "Oh, you are recovering so fast." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the best." Like, look at me go.
Look at me right now.
But it's a really weird experience to like have to kind of relearn how to like get up from bed and like walk, and like you can't really like do things on your own. But I was like fine with the attention.
Hey, I mean,
if I'm being completely
that's true.
honest, because what was embarrassing when I came back to school, because after you get out of surgery, you have to recover for 3 months before you go do normal
That's
things.
a long time.
Yeah, so I was out of school for 3 months, just at home, and I think the first time. I know I keep saying first time. If you don't know my story, we'll get there. But I feel like a lot of people know it. The first time it was fine because when you like are in the hospital first time, like people come and visit you a lot because
Yeah.
it's like this big deal.
Yeah.
And so my friends would visit me. They gave me a One Direction poster.
Yo, One Direction!
I have this like 5-foot tall Niall Horan poster.
Really? You
Yes.
still have it?
I don't think so, but it was in my closet for a while. It was in my closet for a while, so I opened my closet and be like, hey, now.
Hey.
But so the first time was fine. The recovery was pretty fast, and I don't remember being like super down about it. It was probably hard being away from people for 3 months. But when I got back, like my friends would like walk me to my classes and hold my backpack for me because I couldn't like carry
Aw,
anything.
That's so nice.
And I had to bring a pillow to school. The first day was really weird because I'm like, I am obviously like, I couldn't like, I had to bring a pillow. I couldn't hold my own backpack. I was super slow. And so I'm like, obviously, like, I look like something's off.
Yeah.
But I recovered pretty fast and I'm like, okay, done with that. My spine's good. The bars aren't going to give me any complications. And this is in the mindset of like an 8th grader who's like, life will be great.
Yeah.
And so, but like maybe 6 months after, um, going after the surgery, I started, instead of my pain getting better, it started getting worse again.
Oof.
And I was like, okay, what's going on? Maybe I'm just overexerting myself. Maybe it's just like part of the healing process. But it like very quickly became like very unbearable pain to the point where like there were days I couldn't get out of bed and I couldn't walk. And that alone, I also had just started a new school because now we're in 9th grade. And instead of going to the school all my friends were going to, I decided to go to VSAA and kind of start over. And so I not only was like a first year in high school dealing with this pain stuff, but I also didn't know a single person.
Yeah.
I knew one person, but we didn't really have any classes together. And when you get to high school, you kind of start doing your I'm so sorry, I talked with my hands, doing your own thing a lot. And no one really knew how bad it was because I couldn't even really comprehend how bad the pain was either. I thought maybe I was just being dramatic because that's what I go to at first. And during this whole time, like I am like still in the same place with God where I'm like, oh yeah, like we're cool. Like I'm a Christian. We do the things, but still I'm not going to him with all of this stuff that I'm dealing with because I wouldn't even think to do that for some
Yeah.
reason.
No.
Because it's just like it was more of a routine thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so like during my first year of high school was just one of the worst years ever because not only was I dealing like with this pain where I like couldn't get up, I couldn't walk, I couldn't even stand up straight because of like how bad it was. I also was throwing up every single day. And I think partly due to what was going on and partly due to like I just had such bad anxiety. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to be there because I was just counting down the minutes the whole entire time. Like, when can I get out and like go lay down? Because like I can't. And I was just like ended up being like a shell of a person. Like my personality wasn't there. I just like couldn't function because I was just in so much pain. And I love my parents and they did what they could, but they had to send me to school because you get taken to court if you don't send your kids to school. And we were threatened that multiple times, like, oh, we're gonna take you, like, your kid's not going to school. And they're like, she's sick, like, what? But I had so many tests done during that year. I actually like went on my chart the other day and I can see all of it, and I counted in 2 months like 30 something tests done. And I was like, but I was getting blood tests done like every single week and nothing was showing up. It kind of showed that that I was fighting something, but not anything where they would like go in and investigate more. I got down to 90 pounds and I was super anemic just because I was so just sick for that whole entire year. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't. You know what? I actually don't remember much of my thought process because I think my brain has kind of just blocked it out. And I was like so not aware what was going on the whole entire time that I barely remember like what I was feeling.
Yeah.
But I bet you it wasn't good. I
Oh,
know
yeah, it probably wasn't.
I know that I relied on TV a lot. And I would lay in my bed and watch my shows on my computer, and that's kind of all I did because that's all I really could do. I wasn't really reaching out to friends I had because a lot of them went to different schools. So we started to kind of lose that connection. And I wasn't making a lot of new friends because I couldn't engage.
Yeah.
And I felt just super uncomfortable. And so that was the whole entire, well, let's see, until February of ninth grade. That's what it was every single day. And I'm just like, okay, what is going on? And then the doctors, since they were looking and looking, they did blood work and MRIs and X-rays and all those things, and nothing was coming up. They're like, you're normal, like everything looks fine. And to the point where they're like, okay, we think that maybe you had some emotional trauma from the first one, so we're gonna send you to a therapist. And I'm like, okay. At the time, like I'm so for therapy. Everyone should get therapy. But I was like, that's not what I need. I need like medical
Yeah.
help. And so the therapist took one look at me and she's like, there's something wrong with you. Because if you
I ain't gonna do.
she was like, no.
That's so funny.
But if you see pictures of me, it's like kind of crazy because I was so pale and so skinny and just I did not look well. And so finally, the only reason they found out what was wrong is because one day I had these like giant like blisters forming on my spine about this big on my spine, my scar on my back. And they would like, I don't know how gross I should get. They would pop. And like it was
Mm.
it was so gross. And I went to the doctor like, that's not good. You have an infection. I'm like, oh, okay. And so literally it was like exactly 1 year later, like what I got my first surgery February 24th and this one was February 23rd.
That's
I had
crazy.
my second surgery and they found that I had this like giant infection throughout my entire spine, and it was making me septic, which is basically your body ends up poisoning itself.
Yeah.
And so it yeah, and so they end up cleaning it out, and I was in the hospital for another 2 week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And then I thought, okay, things are fine. That one was a little bit harder, but it's fine. I'm like, we're done. And then after going home a week later, the blisters came back again, and I was like, we're not done. And I was on antibiotics that whole time. I had a PICC line, where it's basically like an IV you take home. It was
Oh, I
attached to
see.
me all
Yeah.
the time. And if if it was time to like refill it, go and it'd do that in class, and it was really embarrassing. And so a week later, I had to go back in, and they're like, okay, this infection isn't leaving, and you're like, this is not okay. And my parents, like, they obviously knew like this isn't good, but they were like kind of blissfully unaware of like the degree to like what was happening, to the point where the doctor was like, you need to realize like she could die from this.
Uh-huh.
Like you could lose your child, and we need to fix this. And then there was like that wake up call of like, oh, okay. And so what they ended up having to do is take the bars out of my back because the infection was sticking to it, and it wasn't allowing my body to heal. And so then I just like all that for nothing. And I just like reverted back reverted back to like what it was. And
Yeah.
and that stay at the hospital was probably that was definitely the worst one. And by that time I was like very angry with God, because I'm like, I feel terrible. I don't even feel like a human. I've been in this hospital so many times now. Like, I don't understand. Like, what did I do? Like, what could I have done? And I'm like, I don't. And like, you can just feel like if you go in the hospital multiple times in a row, you can tell like you get less people visiting you
Yeah.
every single time, because I get it. And it's not something I would ever hold against a person, but like, people have lives and you can't just visit someone all the time, but you can still like feel it and
Mhm.
you notice it. And so like every single time there's like less people there, and so I was feeling very alone and very like hopeless during that time. And so during my last stay at the hospital, there was a lot of complications. I couldn't keep food down, so they couldn't let me go home because I couldn't eat on my own, and I had to just have like your like liquid nutrition.
Yeah.
And I could have been there a lot longer if I just like couldn't get myself to eat. And I also had C. diff, which is really gross, and I'm not going to explain what it is. But if you're curious, just look it up. Oh, maybe I'll. You can't control your poop. Anyway.
Oh, that yeah, that
And
sucks.
so like it's just that whole time like when you are when like you just had back surgery, you can't like get up to run to the toilet really fast, you
That's
know, like
true.
Yeah.
so I'm like trying to get up. I have to unplug myself from the wall because I have an IV and I'm trying to roll over to the bathroom and I pass out on the toilet.
You pass out?
I passed out on the toilet. And I woke up and the nurses were around me and I'm like, let me pull up my pants first. So like that's kind of like what my last stay there was like. It was just there's constantly complications. I couldn't eat and I just like was like, why is this happening? And I was very upset, but I didn't even have energy to be angry. I was just
Yeah.
there. And so I had this one nurse. She was so kind, and it was like on day 4 of me being so nauseous I couldn't eat. And she was like, "I'm not supposed to do this, but can I pray for you?" And I was like,
Oof.
and apparently it was in the middle of the night. I don't remember. That's what my mom told me. I get a lot of these details from my parents because I don't remember that much. And so she prayed for me and prayed for finding a solution and that there would be healing. And literally like right after she had this idea of like, I think that they took you off your pain medicine too fast, and instead of feeling pain you're feeling nauseous, because sometimes like if you have a high pain tolerance, like your body's telling you you're in pain but you don't feel those pain, your pain receptors don't go off, like you feel nausea instead. And so that's something I found out about myself, which is really fun. And so they gave me more of that good old morphine. And then my nausea like instantly like dispersed and went away. And I was able to eat and be able to get out of the hospital quicker. And it really, that like moment with her was very impactful for me because I've never been like served like that in a way, especially like from someone who's not supposed to. Like you're not supposed to like implement your religion in like a workspace, you know. And so that was a really big moment for me where I was like, okay, like that felt very real. That was probably the most real moment I had up to that point with God. And because I always had this idea of that God is for you, Felipe, or for you, Julianne, for other people, but not necessarily like for me. I knew he was for everyone, but I never felt like it was for me specifically, and that he has a very individual relationship with me. And so that was the first time where I felt like, oh, okay, I feel like we are in this like personal space.
Yeah.
He's like looking at me instead of looking at the crowd kind of
Yeah.
thing. And so that's when it kind of kickstarted that more like personal relationship where I was like, okay, this is something that I want to pursue more. And so it's really interesting how all of that's kind of gone, like how it's progressed now, because after all of that, I was so ready to be done with that chapter of my life. And so I just kind of shut it away. I'm like, I don't have to think about it anymore. I'm good. I'm done. I feel a little bit better. We are in a great place. And I even like I would share my testimony for a few things, and I always like show it in this great light of like, oh, it made me stronger, it made me a better person and all that, which is super true. Like I have gained a certain strength from it. I've gained perspective, and I would not be the same person if I didn't go through that kind of stuff, because it changed my outlook on a lot of things. But I more recently realized that I never addressed the hard parts of that, and I just like pushed it away so quickly, where I never took time to be upset about it or to be sad about it. And I was like that for a long time until like just like 3 or 4 years ago, where it was just the most random thing. I got a new job and I had to go get a tuberculosis test, because if you work with kids, you have to get that test to work. And so I just went to this random doctor they told me to go to, got the test really fast, and he was like doing his stuff, and like doctors can just see your whole medical history if they want to. And it was the most random thing. He was just like, oh my gosh, I see here that you had osteomyelitis, which that was the first time I even knew what I had because I was so out of it and I was so
Yeah.
ready to be done. I'd never even learned what was wrong with me. I didn't know the name of like what was going on in my body. And so I was like, huh? I don't know. And so that was like, he's looking at that 8 years later. How is that even relevant enough on his list to be looking at that? I don't even know how he saw that because I don't know. But he was like, your mom and dad must have been so worried about you. And I was like, probably. I've never thought about that. And so like I left that appointment feeling really weird. I was like, first of all, now I know what was wrong with me and I was able to kind of look at it and really see what was going on and like process that. And two, I'm like, he just like opened up this door for me to like really think about, oh, that was hard.
Yeah.
And since that moment, I've been working with God on like through those things and reprocessing because I shoved it away for a very long time. And now I'm reprocessing a lot of those things. And it's really interesting to see how it has affected me now way more than I ever expected because it's caused a lot of other body pain and different issues I have, and has a lot of emotional effect, and it can be a cause of all of my stomach issues too. Like I was doing a lot of research, and I was looking at the osteomyelitis, and that bacteria is like super rare and causes, it said, incredible pain, and I was like, oh, dope, that's validating. And so now I feel like I'm just like this 25-year-old living in like a 60-year-old body because I deal with chronic pain every single day of my life. There is not a day in the last 11 years that I have not felt pain. And I thought that was normal, and it used to be not this bad, but now it's bad. And that's something I've been struggling with a lot lately, is because like I don't feel like I get a break, and I feel like I'm not like a person sometimes. And it's like feeling that way again.
Yeah.
And so I've been working with God a lot on that too. And I've noticed that him and I, like, it's kind of that same thing like I talked about earlier with, that was my first time like having that personal relationship with him, is going through that. And I started having that personal relationship, but I tend to put it on the back burner. I do that a lot. And now we're kind of in this place again where I'm like, I don't want to say triggered, but I feel almost triggered in a sense because I'm feeling the same way that I did in high school. And that's when like he's showing me again recently that we have a personal relationship. You can talk to me about this stuff. Like literally last night I could not sleep because I was so uncomfortable laying there. Like sleeping is just hard because I'm just like never comfortable. And I was like, you know what? I should actually try talking to God about this. And so I was laying there and David's snoring.
Shout out David Chris.
Yeah, shout out, babe. And I'm like, Lord, please just. And actually, like, what gave me this thought was listening to your testimony too, of like how you just like over and over again said, I'm healed, I'm healed, I'm healed. Like God healed me. And I was like, I'm not just going to ask once and be done with my prayer. I'm just going to say this over and over again. And so I'm laying there and I'm just like, Lord, I know that you can heal. I know that you can take this pain away. Will you please touch my spine and touch my joints and take away the spasm? And I was just listing all the things and saying, like, you have the power to do this. Like, I know you can do this. I have faith and I believe that you have these abilities. And I just like felt this like pressure release off of my body. This was just last night. I'm thinking like, oh, this will be great for the podcast. But no, for real. For real. I just felt this like relief feeling that I haven't felt in a long time. And I was able to kind of relax, and I was like scared to move because when I move, that's when I feel the most pain. I'm like, I don't want to like be disappointed. I don't want to like
Yeah.
flip over in bed and be disappointed. So I laid on my back as long as I could. And I'm like, I'm uncomfy. Because I move around a lot.
Mhm.
And so I flipped over. I'm like, that didn't feel as bad as usual. That didn't, because usually I get this like tightening, spazzing feeling. And like, um, but it was fine. And I was like, whoa, okay, cool. And then I flipped over again later because I flip a lot. And I was like, that was fine again. And I was like, that's so cool. And this morning, even when I got up, like I'm still like there's something still wrong with me. But it wasn't as bad. I'm like, the Lord did answer my prayer because I asked him, I'm like, even if it's not like fully gone, like I I told him last night, I was like, even if you don't take this away from me, I still love you. I'm still gonna praise you, and I'm still like, you are Lord to me. Not to me, but he is still Lord. Um, but like it was cool to like feel that actual sense of relief and that he heard me and that he like if I just take the time to pray for him and not just like dear Lord, blah blah blah, amen, and then be done. Like an actual
Yeah.
conversation where I'm proclaiming who he is and what he can do. That he listens. He really does. Um and then I'm like, why don't I do this more often? Like why am I keeping myself from this? And recently I found out that I have this weird connection with my um with all my medical stuff. Like I feel like it's a part of me, and the idea of it being gone is like almost scary because I've had it for so long.
Yeah.
And David, I told David, my husband, this the other day, and that was the first time I ever said that out loud. He's like, "That's messed up." He was like, "We need to pray that away."
David.
Like he said it in a nice way, but that's essentially what it was. He was like,
I mean,
he was like,
yeah.
"You need to surrender that and let that
Yeah.
go because that's not healthy." And I'm like, "Okay, you're right." And so last night I was like, I actually surrendered this. I was saying that. I'm like, you can have this. I don't want it anymore. And so it was like, I made steps last night at like
Yay.
2 a.m. in the morning because I couldn't sleep. But like when life gets hard, that's when God reminds me, have that personal connection with me.
Yeah.
Like, because my whole life has always been serving and I love it and I love serving. That's literally my job as a children's director. I am working for God, but sometimes I forget to put him in like he's the main goal. I forget that my main goal with children's ministry is to bring kids closer to God. I get wrapped up in the works of it and getting my job done and making things on time, and I forget, no, like this is about God and glorifying him. It's not about me, or if people tell me, oh, that was a really good event. That's not what it's about. It's about bringing people closer to God, and I can't do that if I don't have that personal connection with him.
Yeah.
And so that's something I'm still actively working on and working through. But the hard stuff really does put you in your place with that a little bit.
That reminds me of what they said at the Foursquare conference, where they were saying that there's a difference between serving God and knowing God.
Yeah.
And so that idea of like, yeah, we can serve him all we want, we can do all the works for however many years, and we can put on these amazing events or put on this whatever it may be, but if we don't know him, then there's no point.
Yeah.
What's
Well,
the
it's like
purpose?
that like passage in, I think it's in Matthew, where Jesus is talking about how like when sorry, I'm so sorry. But yeah,
Yeah.
when like the end times come and Jesus comes back, and then there will be some people who Jesus won't take, and they're like, well, why? Like I cast out demons, like I proclaimed your
Mhm.
name, I changed people's lives, and Jesus says, but I don't know you. And that's
Mhm.
because that's what it's all about. It's not
Yeah.
about the things you do or how many people you reach, that which is good
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
but it's not about that. It's
It's not a
about
numbers game.
it's about
Mm-mm.
knowing Jesus and having a connection with him.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
remember like that at conference, I was like, oof,
Yeah.
that
I know.
spoke to me so much because I'm really good at having faith and that relationship with God, especially when I'm around other people. But when I'm by myself, I don't tend to reach for those things. I don't spend time in the word by myself. I rely still on TV more than I should, and And that's just me being honest
Yeah.
and like trying to keep myself accountable with
Mhm.
that stuff too. And but yeah.
Well,
wow.
thank you.
I
Thank you
like-
so much.
No,
Like our
thank
time.
you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. We have we have a final part.
we have we've done
yeah,
this after every testimony so far.
Yeah.
To end on a high note, we have rapid fire questions we're gonna ask
Let me
you.
get
You got this.
my
You got
energy.
this. Oh, you got this.
I'm ready.
Your voice changed. What was
I'm ready.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay, ready?
Where's my drink? I'm not
Okay,
gonna do it
okay,
again.
wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Favorite TV show?
New girl.
Oh, nice.
Favorite food?
Sushi.
Early
Sushi.
bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Favorite color?
Green.
Apple or Android?
Android. Apple sucks.
What? Excuse
Okay.
Okay.
Favorite
Oh.
movie?
Wait, I thought of one earlier.
Wait, what did you
Oh,
tell
Grown
me?
Ups.
Grown Ups.
Go-to coffee order?
Oh, guys, go to no sponsor, but go to Richland Hub
Ooh.
Yeah.
and get the
Yes.
Zanzibar Spice
good.
coffee.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good.
So
It's so
good.
good.
I'm getting $5 for this promotion.
Current favorite worship song?
That one's hard.
They have different vibes.
Okay, just name whatever comes to your mind. All of them. Any of
I love
them.
My Testimony by,
This is my
It's like-
testimony.
This is my and then anything by House Fires.
I
It's
love
just fire.
House Fires.
House
Oh, wait.
fire.
House Fires.
Okay, and then just like me character.
Ooh. Oh my gosh. So a character I like feel like is like me.
Mhm.
Someone like me. Just
Hey.
joking. I'm basic. That's a hard question. You guys tell me yours.
Mine's.
What did I?
Do you know? I don't think we asked
No,
you.
you didn't ask me.
Mine's
'cause
Princess Anna from Frozen.
Oh, I remember you saying that.
I don't think I did that. 'Cause
No,
I
'cause
can't.
I was like,
no,
"Do you
you have
want
to
it?"
tell
And
me.
you're like, "No."
I don't know.
See, it's hard.
Yeah, I know.
I once was told that I'm like a mix of Jess and Cece from New Girl. I'm like the two
Oh
combined.
my gosh! Yeah,
But I don't know if that counts.
I think it
That
does. I
counts.
feel
We'll
like
make
you
it
are
count.
totally them combined,
We'll make it
and a
count.
little bit of Winston. I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Except birds are terrifying.
yeah, but
Birds are
he
terrifying.
just
Yes.
wears bird shirts. I don't think he likes birds. Does he?
That's weird.
I think he just wears
He
bird
likes the
shirts.
bird shirts, but he doesn't like birds.
I've never heard him talk about birds before,
What?
except on his shirt.
What's
That's so
going
true.
on?
Yeah, he has a cat though. That's
But he
his
doesn't wear
entire
cat
personality.
shirts.
No,
That's backwards.
I know.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
I don't know what's
Sorry.
going on. Is that a new girl thing?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
that's all. That's all the questions.
Also, I
Oh.
want to be like Katara from
Avatar?
Avatar. Oh, you haven't watched that. Have you watched that?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
Who said I have? Well,
Have you?
I've seen like a
audience.
few episodes.
That's not the
The David
same.
Chris doesn't count it as I've seen it until I've seen the whole series
Can
20
you name the
times.
characters?
Yeah. Aang? That right?
No.
It's
Not how
Aang.
you say it, Aang.
I didn't even
Aang.
know that.
Aang.
Why are you
Aang.
laughing, Elon?
You said Aang.
Is that not how you say
Aang.
it? Aang? But it's
Yeah.
an A, not an E.
Aang.
Oh,
Aang. You really put a hard G in there
I'm
too.
so sorry. I'm tripping. Anyway,
No,
Aang. I did it again. That one you just said, and the other one.
There's so many.
And
more.
that's
okay,
it.
Anyways, okay.
Anyway, thank you,
Thank you,
Hannah, for
Hannah.
being here
Thank you
and
for
for
having
sharing.
me. It was fun. I feel like I just like talked a lot, and then people were
Well, yeah.
staring at me.
That was the point.
That was.
Good, I
kinda
did
how
it
it-
right.
yeah.
Okay.
You did it right. And
Thanks
thank you
for
all
watching.
for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Next time.
We should
on
do
the
high
next-
five. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Wait,
Oh.
Oh.
I thought
Why would you? Why would
I thought you were going up here.
Oh, well, because you were like
I
that.
know. I thought you switched it up. So I went,
Oh. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
that's cute.
Goodbye. Bye bye.